Well, hello, and welcome to ZBrush Live on this cold Friday evening in LA. Actually, weather has been a little bit better in the last few days, but we had a bit of a wild ride there for a while. Okay, let's see. Let's do the quick check of whether you guys can see my screen and hear me okay. And while I'm waiting for that, and you can please type that up in the chat, just on the three services. Strawberry King says, hey Ara, so you must be able to hear me on YouTube. So if we can get somebody from Twitch and somebody from Facebook to say that you can hear me okay, then we're good to go. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, you know, all the good stuff that you need to do. And then if you have questions, you can ask during the stream. And if you are if your question happens after I do the live stream, if you're watching this on YouTube or whatever, you can leave it in the comments and we'll get back to you on that. All right, with that said, I guess if YouTube is good, if we just can hear from Twitch that everything is good, then we can go ahead and get going. Let's see. Hello from Argentina. Hey, hello. Hello back. Congratulations on winning the World Cup, I guess. And let's see. Nobody from Twitch is saying anything. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. I'll wait a couple of minutes just to make sure. Right. Let's see. Okay, cool. So we got Talon66 from Twitch saying you can hear me fine, so I can go ahead and get started. All right. I did a little bit of work on this, and I wanted to devote today to rendering, but two things happened. One is that I want to do the rendering on a new machine I have, a new workstation, but I haven't set it up yet, so hopefully next stream it will be set up and we can see the difference. I will do a little bit of rendering today, but I will mostly be just kind of doing the fit and polish on a few things here. This area over here, the earpiece, maybe a little bit sculpting on the clothing and some of these details, and then I think we're pretty much pretty close to being done with this. Maybe assigning some materials and figuring some materials out. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and get going. So one of the things that I did, since I am doing a bust, is I made one of these cam view things with it. So you will see up here that as I'm rotating my model, I'm getting the cam view of it. And again, I can use it to just go to the back and front and bottom and whatever. So yeah, this was a kind of a neat little thing that I wanted to do. I never really had a bust to do it with, but now that I do, I just at some point made this, and then we'll, of course, when it's finished, I'll do another one with the completed one. And maybe I'll share it. Maybe I'll share it with the community. All right, so let's go ahead and get going here. What should we do? I'm kind of working on, I think, this helmet part right here. So let's go ahead and continue to do that. Bring up my subtools, bring up the count to 8. Okay, that's good. And then we're just going to use H-polish here to just get some of these kind of warpy areas to be more smooth. And it's probably better that I use basic material to, you know, a blend or something with a little bit of a more of a spec to make sure I'm getting this right. I do have some car material, car surface materials I could throw on here as well. I might do that towards the end, but it's looking pretty okay. And another thing I want to do here, so I've made a little bit of a veer from the image that AI generated over here. So for all those of you, by the way, I should mention this, for all those of you tuning in that don't know what I'm doing, I made AI generate a bunch of images, and then I photo bashed them into this image right here. And then I wanted to make it in 3D. And as much as I like this image and some of the things that are going on, I think that the jaw, doing it the way that it is in the image, actually didn't turn out too good. So I actually improvised and did kind of a jaw mechanism or design of my own. And I'm liking it a lot more. And then also took a few liberties with the helmet here. And I think another thing I'm going to do is maybe add a visor. It's like that kind of goes up here and then just kind of has a piece that comes down on his eyes. All right, so let's go ahead and do a little bit more of cleanup on here. Another thing I want to do today is actually work on the creature itself, the face. I've done very little work on there. I used a really cool thing with the this new feature, Slime Bridge, to make kind of the tendrils on the cheeks. And you can barely see them here, but I can just go to the tool real quick and show you guys. So you can see that on the inside here, he's got these tendrils in this cheek, like these kind of tubey kind of things. And maybe if I hide the poly frame, you can see it. So this is kind of all I've done with the whatever's inside. I did a little bit of work around the eyes. I'll do a little bit more today, but you know, like maybe do something here in the mouth area. We don't really see much of it, but just kind of create some interesting things where the light can jump out. But yeah, this is what this thing looks like on the inside. All right, actually, while I'm here, might as well do it here. Let's see, what is this thing? Does it have subdivision levels? Yes, it's got 2, and I guess I'll just go to Damien Standard here. And I'm actually going to be working through the model itself, because I want to, you know, I want to look at all the things that are seen. Like there's an area here that's kind of, that can be seen. So I'm just going to dig into there a little bit, maybe over here. I don't think I've got symmetry on this thing, so I'm working asymmetrically, which is the way it should be for a face. And I'm just, you know, maybe just putting in some lines here just to tell me that these are areas that are actually seen. Okay, and then let me just go to it individually, and I can kind of see those areas and try to come out with some sort of interesting mouth for this thing. Oh wait, here we go. So if I need to rig this, would you merge everything together, then retop each piece individually for more polygon control? Okay, KD15, you've got some good questions, and the answer is, so yes, that is kind of what you do on a more kind of simplistic level. Is merge everything together. But what you got to do is, before you do that, you have to decide what moves. So if I bring everything back, right, and let me turn transparency off for a minute. And if we look at this, right, if let's say this thing is going to go into a game or an animation, we got to think about what's going to animate, right? So his neck's going to animate because he's going to turn his head around and look at things. So that's one thing, right? So that needs to have good topology. And then, you know, I mean, all of the stuff on top is pretty much detailed, but I also do have subdivision levels, and they are all quadded. So they can be retopologized if needed. But again, I wouldn't need to retopologize everything, really. I would probably just unify this thing and just decide like what pieces just go together. So basically, I probably would have the face not be its own thing, so I would hide the face. I might even hide the eyes for now, because those would be separate, because maybe in the animation those will move, so I don't have the face, I don't have the eyes, so I've got kind of the helmet like this, right? And then the bottom jaw, like the whole thing, this whole helmet could be one piece, right? And the way I would do it is just unite, do a combine, right? And then I would retopologize the whole thing, or I would either Dynamesh or retopologize the whole thing manually. So the head would be one piece, so this whole thing would be one piece. And then once I do have like a simple topology of it, I will project the details on and create a normal map on that. And then I would probably do the same thing with the coat. I mean, if I was using the full character, and I do have a body for this thing, I'm probably not going to work on it. Let me bring it up. Right, so if I was doing the body would need to be rigged, obviously. So yeah, so that's how I would do it, right? And then the face and the eyes would be separate because maybe I would need to emote. You know, the eyes could maybe blink, or maybe the eyeballs would look around, and the skin, maybe these tendrils would be moving or whatever. So I would make the face a separate piece. The face itself, you know, does have a low res. Let's see how detailed that low res face is. It's about 150,000 polygons. It's a lot. I would probably definitely simplify this. But yeah, as you can see here, it's easy to simplify. I've got polygroups on everything. So for the tendrils, it would be, you know, not a big deal to simplify this. And I could use the delete edges feature in ZBrush. This thing's really nifty. I'm just going to duplicate this real quick, and I'll show you how that works. So here's the piece. I'm going to turn, where are you? Okay, I'm just going to turn the color off so you can see just the geometry. So this here is, let's say, 150,000, but of course I want it to be a lot less if this is going to go into a game. In a movie, it doesn't really matter as much, but in a game, it definitely has to be less. So I can go to Geometry, Edge Loop, and Delete Loops. And let's just see what the default gives us. Okay, so it's complaining that it's got multiple subdivision levels. Of course, no problem. We'll delete the higher ones. We don't need them. And then this will work. So this got rid of a bunch of loops here, but it still is pretty heavy. So I'm going to go ahead and go for a lesser angle. Click on Delete Loops. Maybe greater angle. Yeah, greater angle. And just continue to keep going up in that angle. And you can see here some of these are getting a lot simpler. Let's see, what do we have now as far as poly count is concerned? We are at 102, so we're a little bit less, but it's still kind of busy. So I'd kind of limit, you know, I'd kind of take this to as much as I can. Maybe 85, do it again. And I think this is all that this will do. And then I'd have to manually go in and just delete loops. And I don't know why it's not deleting loops in here. There's plenty of loops that could go, like within this. There's a bunch of loops that would go. So you could kind of simplify it. Another thing you could do is you could zero mesh it as well. That'll work. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. I don't need it anymore. You can always go ahead and zero mesh it as well. So let's say I didn't do the simplification here. I have, let's see. Yeah, I deleted the subdivision level, so I just have this. And what I want to do is I want to zero mesh this, so then I can just go in here under geometry and make sure I don't have symmetry on. I don't. And I will zero mesh it. Maybe, let's try to go for half and see what that gives us. So this will go and do its thing. And then we will go from 150 to, it's going to take a little bit of time because of the tendrils, but it's not that big of a deal. Checking away. I really wish I was on my new computer because this probably would go a lot faster. All right, come on. Another thing I could also do is, like, if there wasn't going to be a close-up of this guy, I would probably not have these tendrils. I'd probably create a texture that looks like this and just put it inside. You know, it depends on the economy. It depends on, you know, what they give me as far as, you know, like you need to be under this number of polygons, and then I'd try to fit it in there. This is taking its sweet time, but hopefully it'll be done soon. One thing, oh, I do have keep groups and keep Polypaint. That's probably making it take more time. Okay, here we go. It's done. And it went down to 120, not a lot, you know, not a lot less than what we had before, and it kind of got janky too. So what I'm going to do here is just not have detect edges on, and I'm not going to have keep Polypaint, and I'm not going to have keep groups. And let's see what that gives us. Let's see if this is going to go faster. I think keeping the groups maybe made it not go as fast. So with this new ZBrush 2023, the zero mesher uses what it did before. Let's see if it is using it here. No, I think it's redoing it just because we changed some settings. but it's going pretty fast. And let's see if we get anything less. I think it's kind of trying to keep these tendril shapes. Maybe those I could separate out, have them be their own thing, and maybe not have as many. All right, we're almost done with this. So we're going from 150. Let's see if it gives us less than 120. We got all the way down to 109 with that delete loops function too. So here we go. It's that last bit that takes the longest. All right, come on. Yeah, I'm just really looking forward to seeing how much faster the machine is going to be in doing some of these tasks. It really makes a difference, especially if you're in production and you've got a deadline. Having a fast machine makes a big difference. Not that the machine I have now is slow or anything, but it's about 8 years old, so I'm sure DDR5 and and the latest fastest Intel chip and all the kind of new technological advances, Windows 11, all that good stuff, and a much faster video card will make a big difference. All right, this is just chugging away. I think I'm pretty close to hitting escape if it doesn't come back in the next second or two. All right, let's just abort it. Okay. So basically that kind of gives you some idea of how to do it. I'm kind of worried of even doing a Dynamesh on this. I wonder what it would do. Well, let's try it. So this resolution is 2048. Let's go to 1024. And let's see what that gives us. Yes, I'd like to freeze the subdivision levels. All right, so okay, so Dynamesh gave me this. This is 13,953 points. It's not bad, and I might be able to put this in a game. Another thing I could also do, just to make my life easier, is maybe delete some of the polygons that won't be seen. Like this whole front part right here isn't going to be seen. This whole back part can go, so I can remove those as well. So that's kind of how I would go about it. Retopologizing, I did do some retopology in this series. So you can go to ZBrush Live and go to Presenters and go to my name. By the way, this is a great place to kind of see when I'm on next. There's a calendar that tells you. And as we scroll down here, where am I? Here I am. Okay, and I guess it doesn't have my latest ones on here. Another thing you can do is go to the YouTube channel for Pixelogic, right, where I'm on live right now. And if you go to live, just click on the live button here. It shows you, so this is me doing this now, and it shows you all the previous ones. And so there is my previous one, and then you just look, you can also type my name, or you can just kind of look at the thumbnails and see my image, or the image of the thing I'm sculpting, and then you can see them there. So I definitely did do a retopology one before, and yeah, definitely check it out if you want to kind of see how I retopologize. And then the details will be transferred over with a normal map, and that's done over here by normal map. You can just basically choose the high resolution and the low resolution and get the difference. Same thing with textures. You can just UV everything and get textures as well. So that's how you would put this thing into production. But from my perspective, the way I'm working on this right now is I'm not working on it for production. What I'm doing is I'm working on it as some sort of a bust. That's going to be either 3D printed or just a concept design that people can use. So animators and people who are going to be working on this don't have to start from scratch. All right, where were we before we went down that hole? Strawberry King, I didn't build it myself. No, I just got a machine from a vendor. GPU is like the Intel, the best one, and then the CPU, and then the GPU is NVIDIA A6000. I think is what the GPU is going to be. I might consider putting my 3090 in there as well, just to see if I can double up on the speed. But I'm just going to see how fast it is as is. I'm probably going to be maintaining both machines at the same time. All right. So Timothy, hey Timothy Sellers, how's it going? Timothy Sellers is using his name, which is awesome. I don't know if it's your name actually. I'm making an alien model in 3D modeling software. Look, Mom, I'm an alien. Okay, great. We've got some humor. All right. So where were we? I totally kind of lost track of where we're. Okay, we're working on the helmet. Let's do some cloth work. Maybe work on this neck piece right here. All right. So this was something that I just extracted out. So I just extracted out this piece from what we had, right? And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually use cloth sim on this. So right now it doesn't have any subdivision levels, so I'm going to go ahead and divide it once. Maybe give it, I'm going to divide it but not with smooth on once, and then turn smooth on and divide it. So I've got 3. Maybe go one more subdivision level, and then let's go ahead and choose some of the cloth brushes here. Let's just start with nudge. And one other thing I want to do here is just under dynamics, go in and set everything else as a collision object. So I'm going to turn self collision down to 4, so no self collision. Basically, I don't really care about gravity, and maybe turn expand on. Not that that's going to make a big difference, but this is. And what would be 0.1 for the inflate here. And this basically means how far from all the different things it's going to be. And we're going to recalculate the collision volume. I think we're good with the max simulation points. I might make the iterations up to 256 here. All right, so I'm right now, whoa. Okay, so I think 2 things. One, my resolution is pretty high, so I'm going to go down subdivision level 2 here. And all right, let's see how this is working. All right, so it did something really interesting here where it actually went on top of this piece. And initially I would have said no, but I kind of like it. So I think I'm going to keep that. I think I'm going to keep what it did over here because it kind of looks even more interesting than what was there before. Okay, so now let me go up in subdivision level and see what that looks like. That looks good. And now I'm going to turn off symmetry because I don't want these folds to be symmetrical, because really they wouldn't be. And I'm going to do the same exact thing, but without symmetry. Right, and that's kind of going to create a little bit more of a difference in each area. And I'm really liking what's going on. Maybe here it's a little bit intrusive to that clasp, but I can fix that. And here all I'm doing is just touching the model very gently, just to kind of get these folds, and then I can use shift to just smooth them. And again, this is not even at the highest subdivision level. So, you know, you got to think about like how when his neck moves, where the wrinkles would be. And I'm assuming the wrinkles would be like this. Right, that's good. And all right, Timothy, that's great, man. I hope this becomes a trend, because it's like, you know, it's playing the guess what the name is game. It's gotten a bit old. All right, here we go. All right, so here I'm just pushing this. I just went back to normal move, and I'm just pushing this back in underneath because I want this kind of top of the clasp to show. Like that. And I'll go back to the cloth nudge in a second. which is going to kind of maybe bring it back. So in order for it not to be brought back, I'm just going to store a morph target here, and so it kind of conforms to this. And then let's see if that works. Nope, it's going to want to come back. All right, so the way to fix that is I'm just going to go in here and smooth this part out and just mask that part so it doesn't move. Same with the other side. Okay. All right, so just get some kind of wrinkles over here, probably ones running down to the clasps, and then maybe one that runs down in the middle like this. All right, so that's good for this level of subdivision. So now I'm going to go up in subdivision levels to 3, and this is going to make, give me kind of lesser wrinkles like this. And I've got to be very careful where I put those because I don't want there to be too many. Like here's a good place for one. Maybe over here as well, like that. That's working right there, and then maybe do the same on the other side. All right, I think that's good enough, and then I have one more subdivision level to go up, and that's looking okay. All right, so let's try out some cloth on this, cloth materials, and I'm just gonna again push this thing in a bit like that. All right, and then what I want to do here is I want to maybe see what this looks like with some sort of MicroPoly on. So, oops, I don't know what I just did. Did I delete it? I deleted what I just worked on. All right, not a problem. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to load it back in from something I already have. So I'm just going to put in my last save. It's going to take Marcin Kalpa says boring and then death. Okay. Looks like you're having a positive evening. And are deciding to share it with the world. Party on. All right, so I'm just basically loading this other version of this, and all I'm going to use from it is just the neck piece. All right, so here we go. Now I should have 2 of these guys. And I guess this is a good hint as to what type of machine I'm getting next. I was working on a logo just to kind of have it on there. And I am going to, I don't need this logo. I don't need anything here. Okay, and then let's go to the one of these models that has that neck piece, which is not this one. It must be this one, yep. And let's select it. Nope, that's not what we want. This is what we want. Solo it out. Copy. And do delete other here. Always okay. All right, and then copy it. And then just paste it here. And we are good to go, just like we were before. I might need to do a few of the things again, so I'm just going to bring everybody back, do the recalc, so you guys get a review of this. Jason, that's cool. You can watch it after the fact, by the way. If you can't stay for it, it'll be saved on YouTube, so you can watch it after the fact. Okay. So we're back to where we were. What I'm going to do here is subdivide this a couple of times. Oops. did the same thing I did last time where I forgot to turn this off. So let's keep the form and then smooth it out twice this way. All right, so we got that. Let's go all the way to maybe 2, and let's go ahead and choose the nudge brush. And let's start. Okay, so I'm going to see if there's a way that, that's why it's happening. All right, so the reason why this part is overlapping is because there's this. So I can probably fix that by doing this. Here we go. And then maybe using inflate, just pushing this part in. And hopefully we will not have that problem anymore. All right, then go back to the nudge brush. And here we go. Yep, much better. All right, so that's the initial piece of it, like so. Right, and then go up in the subdivision level, and then do it again. Get a little bit more detail, like that. And then I'm going to turn symmetry off and see if I can get some asymmetry action going. And again, you don't want to have too many folds. It just will look overly done. You want to just kind of reduce the number of them as much as you can. Let's put one over here. And over here you can see that the folds are a little bit more detailed when I'm at a higher subdivision level. Okay. I know there are some questions. I'll get to them in just a minute. All right, and at this point, this is where we kind of had that issue before, but we're almost back to where we were. I kind of liked what I had before more, but this is not bad. Let me just do a recalc here and see if I can maybe use the cloth hook, or actually cloth pull, to see if I can get a little bit. Here we go. Yeah, so I'm just choosing the points where this would be pulled from. So as the neck turns, things would be kind of pulled this way and that way. So we'll create some folds like that. Same thing here. All right, and then let's do the MicroPoly. And the way we do that is just go to Geometry, Dynamic Subdiv, turn it on, no smooth, no thickness. And what we just want is MicroPoly on. And let's try this. That looks cool. Let's go up one subdivision level. And that looks even cooler. That works for me right there. So I don't even need the higher subdivision level. I'm going to delete it. And that's going to be that for me. I think maybe just this area, just a little bit. Here we go. And then this one too. Just bring it closer. Just give me these nice folds. All right. Let's see. Yeah. I think, working on the computer, whatever you're doing, you're always kind of communicating with it somehow. So I get that. All right. Let's see. Do you have tips if you have a model with a lot of VDM fur? Like many say, how do you retopo it for games? Okay. Yeah, you wouldn't have that kind of, I mean, vector displacement maps are good, but I don't know if a game, depends on if the game engine supports it. If the game engine supports it, then you would use the VDM. If the game engine doesn't support it, doing fur with geometry is just not a good idea. So maybe the software, the game software or the game engine has some way of managing fur. Usually they do it with cards. So if you look at like God of War and, some games where there is fur, they usually have cards. They usually have like flat objects, and then they basically use the fur on top of it as like a card. All right, I think this is looking good enough for now. I think we're done with that piece. I wanted to also do this piece over here as cloth. And but I'm going to do something else here real quick. I'm going to let this autosave happen because we've done a bunch of work. And once it's done, I'm going to actually do one other thing over here. I don't know why this is all right, here we go. And let's go to loading in some alphas here. Just going to go into my alpha library. Let's see if there's one that Pixelogic has that will work. I'm just looking for like some sort of interesting button thing, and the answer is no. So let me just go into my own alpha library, which is going to take a minute to generate. I think I'm going to do that. Well, let's see. I think I've got a lot of alphas, so so excuse the wait here on. Let's go back to alpha. All right. Well, this is going to take its time. I guess I could do it for now. I could do it with primitives. So here I'm just going to go ahead and let's see. Do I have some objects here that I could kind of reduce? Maybe do a little bit of. Yeah, I don't need this thing. Delete that. I don't need this either. Delete that. I don't need this anymore. I can delete it. And let's see if there's anything else I can kind of do a little bit cleanup here. Polysphere 1. I don't need this either. Let's delete that as well. Okay, so this is kind of making things a little bit better. Let's see if this got done. Alphas. All right, getting there. All right, and let's go over to here. You know, now that I think about it, I could have probably done this with Spotlight as well, but I'll just do it with this. I'm just going to go in here and find one of these pieces that looks interesting. This one does. Maybe, let's see if there's anything more interesting, more than that. I think we were good with this one, so let's just choose it. And it loaded into my Spotlight, which is not what I wanted. Let's do this one more time. I want to load it as an alpha. Here we go, like that. And then I'm just going to use this nifty trick that basically go in alpha. I'm going to make this into 3D. Make 3D. All right, there it is. Let's see, what does it look like? That looks okay. However, I don't really need the back part of it, so I'm just going to go ahead and mask the front part, like so, and then the back part. That's weird. Just masking the front, squash the back down, and then extrude it out. So I just want to make like a button like this. And then, again, it's going to be pretty small, so it's going to read okay. I just need to let's activate X and Y symmetry here and zero mesh this thing to double. Yeah, let's see what double gives us. All right, let's see what that gives us. Okay, that's way too many polygons, but then maybe give it a little bit more of that. That's exactly what I want. Now let's go to half and zero mesh it. And that's good enough right there. The back's kind of still I don't know why it's doing this weirdness on the back, but I don't really care about this. I just don't want it to mess with what I'm going to be doing with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and smash this down even further, zero mesh it again. And this is a little bit cleaner. Smoothing it here, and then do it one more time. And bam, I've got a really good part here. Let's see if I add one more subdivision level to this and turn polyframe off. Yep, that's the shape I want right there. So here, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and make an insert mesh brush with this. So go ahead and brush, create insert mesh. Bam, new, there it is, good. Let me do something here real quick, just in case if we have a crash or something, I want to have this brush saved. So I'm going to save it. All right, so this is a thing I can use. I've got it as a brush. I'm going to go back to my model here. And this thing only has one subdivision level, so this is going to work just fine. And I'm going to make % smaller and draw this out. I think that's a little bit too big. Too small. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Maybe like that. That's good. Here's one of them. And I'm just going to copy that. Oops. I guess I better turn symmetry off for this. Okay, and actually, why am I even doing that? It's good enough. Like that. And then I'm going to make one more, and let's turn symmetry back on so it puts one on the other side. I want one of these over here. And I'm getting these to be the same size by holding Control down. And I could make my life easier by embedding it even more this way, so then it actually goes into the model. I don't know why it didn't go in. Come on, then. All right, that's a bit too much. Maybe like about there. All right, that's good. No, it's not good. That's better. See, this is kind of where the power of ZBrush comes in for me, is like I can do these iterations and figure out like a good pattern. All right, so the reason why I did this is because I want this object in the back to react to it. So here I'm just going to do a split to similar parts, because I don't want all these to be in one object. So split to similar parts. Okay. And so now what I have is I have that piece as one piece, and then the all these buttons are another piece. Okay, and so now what I want to do is I want to do a recalc of the dynamics here. Do a recalc, so now it takes all this into consideration. And then here, I'm actually going to just do an inflate and expand. Expand maybe not so much. Maybe bring that down to 0.25. And let's run that simulation, see what we get. All right, so interestingly enough, it's not going over this one, but it's going over the others. So I just can go over to here. Mask this one because it's fine, and then the others just go in and pull them out just a little bit, just for now, and then I'll push them back in later. All right, recalc and a run simulation. So that's exactly what I wanted to have happen. I wanted the cloth to kind of go around these buttons. So I'm just going to run that simulation some more. There it is. And then divide this once, run the simulation again. And you can see it's getting these kind of nice effects around the buttons, and continue to run it. And that's good for kind of the original shape. All right. So I'm again, the everlasting issue with being a designer is we want to get things to be perfect. So I'm going to actually make these buttons a little bit smaller. So what's the draw size here? 2. I'm going to go for 1.75, and let's see what I get there. Yeah, those were too big. And then the embed is too much. I'm going to lift it up just to about maybe there. Right, 1. Right. Right, same exact thing, split to similar parts. Then switch back to this guy, recalc, and run simulation. All right, it's still going above it, so I'm going to have to pull these out a bit. I mean, another thing I could do here, let me see, do I have self-collisions off? Yeah, I could reduce the firmness, but it's fine. I think it's okay. Maybe bring this down a bit. Let's see if this gives us anything better. Oh, huh. I don't want to simulate the buttons. All right, so it's still going to go above it. So we just need to take these buttons and just move them out just a little bit. Just so that the thing gets pressed in and doesn't go over the buttons. Right, back to here. Let's run that simulation. Here we go. All right, I'm going to divide this once without smoothing it. Now let's divide it once with smoothing it, just to get that. Let's see what that gives us. All right, here we go. This is exactly what I want happening in the background. It's still trying to go around the objects. I think another trick for this, it's good that it's happening. I'll show you another way to get around it, is if you turn on transparency and ghost and just mask the little bit of the area underneath this. So just a little bit of masking over here, a little bit of masking over here, a little bit of masking over here, and that should do the trick. All right. And let's run the simulation. Here we go. I'm actually going to take a look at this piece for a minute and see what's going on with it. Okay. I think part of the problem is I lifted this part up, but not the bottom part, so let me fix that. Quick. I thought I lifted the whole thing up, but I just lifted the lip up, and I'm going to need that lip, that kind of groove, just to put a kind of a thing into afterwards, and you guys will see. Okay, I think that's more along the lines of what I wanted. Let's give it one subdivision level. Let's see what that back looks like now. Do I have symmetry on? I do. Okay. All right. Now bring everybody back, recalc again, and let's run that simulation. All right. Now we're getting what we want. Right now, this is exactly how it should be. Okay. So now I'm just going to go ahead and choose my cloth move brush. Choose a big radius right here and just start moving this where I want it to go. Go up in subdivision level, do it again. And it's creating this nice kind of wrinkly stuff around it. And now I'm going to move these guys back in. And go back to here and go give it maybe one more subdivision level. Oh, okay. Let's divide it one more time. Okay, that's fine here. All right, and then, oh, you know what? It's giving me an issue because I masked those areas underneath, so when I go to subdivide it, it's kind of giving me a hard time. That's fine. Solo this out here. Whoa, what happened there? Yeah, see? So I don't want this kind of thing to happen on the inside. So I'm just going to go up in subdivision levels like that. And just put these back where they belong. I'm going to clear the mask first. And now I've got a really good idea of where those buttons are. So I can just go in here and mask. Those areas a little bit more so nothing moves. And then bring everything back. And then now I can just go in here and get some interesting things going on with some of the other cloth brushes. So let's go ahead and choose this cloth. Well, actually, I'm going to use this really cool one called Cloth Dimple. I don't know why that keeps coming up. Probably because I'm hitting the button for it. And I'm going to clear the mask and then just do this. Too much. Let me solo this out. And I'm going to do one here. And I don't know why it keeps happening to, is it unmasked? No, it's unbrushed. So I know why it keeps going into that area. I'm just going to turn collision volume off for a minute. And just so I can do some of this type of thing. And then let's bring everybody back. Yep. So that's kind of looking okay for the most part. Okay, so just clear, and then I can also go to this other brush, cloth nudge again, and see if I can get that to happen, and similar things over here. So all right, now I just want to H-polish some of this down because it got a little bit too much. And I'm just going to do an expand on it, not an inflate, and see what kind of result I get. Run that simulation. Maybe go down in subdivision level, go one down, run simulation. This is happening really slowly, but you can kind of see an interesting pattern forming. And I think that's enough, and then just smooth it out. Go up in subdivision level, and then we got this really kind of cool thing happening in the back here. All right, so we've got this piece done, we've got that piece done, and again, I can do the same thing that I did before, where I can see if this looks good with dynamic subdiv. And I kind of like, I don't know if I like this little bit of a divot over here, but it's easily fixed. And maybe lift this up just a little bit as well. Okay, let's see. There's a bunch of questions. Let me read that. That was weird. I accidentally changed the color to green. I don't want that. Okay, let's go back to the way it was. Yeah, do you have tips if you have a model with, okay, the VDM thing, we talked about that. Okay, Timothy, yep, thank you. Just moved from Blender to ZBrush a month ago. I knew something like MicroPoly existed, but didn't know the name to search. How to do it? Just made mine. Oh, okay. Yeah. You know, since I've been using ZBrush for a long time, I kind of keep up with the features. And when they added MicroPoly, it just was something that I remembered. But a good thing to do is, like, there's some links that are coming up in this chat about teaching ZBrush. One of the things you might want to do is just go follow those links and look at all the different things that they're teaching. I think MicroPoly is one of them. So you just look at the topics, and then if you see the topic that you like, then you can just kind of watch a tutorial on it. But yeah, there's a lot of streams, and you know, when you watch these streams, I think every time you kind of grab one thing, and then over time, you'll notice that you've kind of learned a lot of different things. But ZBrush is deep. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in ZBrush, and if you pace yourself, over time you'll learn most of what is important to you, at least. Okay, so here we are dynamic. We don't want smooth, we don't want thickness, we just want MicroPoly. And let's choose again this guy right here, and that looks good. I just wanted to make sure they kind of match, and they do. And yeah, so that works. So that's done. All right, so let's kind of work on some of the other clothing pieces over here. So he's got like this coat that's over here, and then he's got this collar. So let's start with the coat. I'm going to hide the collar for now. Where are you, color? All right. And then there are these kind of pieces that are on top. I'm going to hide them as well. I might do these with Polypaint. I'm not sure. I just kind of did them real quick, but let's hide those for now. Okay. All right, so this piece right here is just a very simple object that I just extracted out. It looks something like this. Let me turn double on for it. Okay, so it just looks something very simple like this. And what I want to do with this is what I did before with everything else. So here I'm just going to do a recalc real quick. Turn on collision volume. 0.1 is good. Do a recalc. And while it's doing that, take a swig of tea. All right, so now for this one, I want to expand it. Right now, let's try a little bit of gravity, not 10, but maybe 1. Let's see what that gives us, just real quick. No, the gravity is still too much, so let's just go to 0.01, and let's do a little bit of a deflate. Let's see if that works. Okay, that's giving me an interesting cloth look right there. I'm going to divide this once and run that simulation again. Okay, so that's not bad. I'm going to turn symmetry off and do this thing all the way again from scratch. Divide it, run it. Let's see if I get something asymmetric. Nope, it's still going to be symmetrical, but that's fine. All right, so let me turn polyframe off and see what happens if I just smooth this a bit. Turn symmetry on again for a minute. Right, now I'm going to turn expand off, and I'm going to try turn inflate on and run the simulation. Okay, here we go. It was closer before, but that's fine. I'm going to run the simulation. Maybe the inflate amount, maybe half it. Here we go. I think this is good. I just want kind of some semblance of something that's made of cloth, like this. And then I can just use some of the cloth brushes, like a nudge again, just to, without symmetry, just to go in and just kind of play up some of these areas. Around the neck. This is where things would bunch up. So again, all I'm doing is just, doing the nudge and then smoothing, doing the nudge and smoothing. Another way to do this thing also is if you go to cloth pull and then you figure out, okay, so what's going on here? There's probably going to be some pulling over here. There's going to be some pulling over here. So again, I want to stay as asymmetrical as I can. Maybe something like this. Right, oh, it's looking okay. And then again, let's do the MicroPoly trick. Let's see, maybe bring this in a bit this way. All right, I'm not really that kind of concerned with the back, but this could be 3D printed, so might as well give it a little bit of attention. Okay, there it is, right there. Okay, so let's see what it looks like with MicroPoly on. Geometry, dynamic on, no thickness, just MicroPoly, same one. And I think we can do one more subdivision level here. And that looks good. Okay, so one other thing I want to do to this is add something on the border of it. So I'm going to bring that back all the way down in subdivision levels and go to solo. And I'm just going to duplicate this like so, and then delete the higher levels of this, and also turn MicroPoly off for this one, because all I need to do is generate a border, and for that I'm just going to see if I do have a border over here. So I'll turn this on. And I'm just kind of maybe polishing the crisp edges will work. Polish crisp edges. So that basically just gives me this kind of border over here. And what I want to do is I just want to go ahead and put a curve on that, or a crease, but a curve will work. So I'm just going to go to stroke and choose a curve, and curve functions maybe, yep, and border, and let's just frame the mesh. So that just basically gives me this curve. And then I'm going to go to my insert, brush, and what is it? Where are you? I'm going to do something here to make my brush life a little bit easier. And that's go into the menu. And let's see, is it even showing up? Nope. I can do it here though. Dynamics brush, and just reset this. Here we go. And I'm going to use this curved tube. So C, and then curved tubes brush. Where are you? Curved tube. Okay. And then I'm going to change my radius all the way down, my draw size all the way down, and that just basically gives me this border. And that's all I need. I don't really even need the other part. So I'm just going to select the other part. Oops. Invert this. And okay, I'm just going to delete the hidden. Okay. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, let me just restore my UI. Config, restore custom UI. Okay, here we go. And I'm just going to delete that curve. I don't need it anymore. Stroke, curve, delete. And all I need is just basically this. But I think I've got a hidden piece that I need to get rid of. And that is delete hidden. All right, so let's bring everybody back. So now I basically have that piece over here with all its subdivision levels and the polyframe, and I also have this kind of bordering tube that basically is going to be like some sort of an edge. And I don't know if I need this level of detail on that one piece, so I'm going to go back to it. And this was one where that thing I used earlier can come in handy, which is geometry, edge loop, and delete loops. So let's try doing this one. This one's like just really kind of killed it. But this is a good trick, by the way, to get these, like, you know, if you want some tubular paneling or something like that. But that's not what I'm going to do here. I actually don't need this level of killing of edges. So I'm going to reduce that number to maybe 19. That's still a little bit too much. Here we go. That's good right there. Okay, and another thing I can also do is delete some of these edge loops to get something interesting. So I'm going to do a insert is fine. And let's go back to the whole model and see if I can make some differences with this. I'm just going to delete edge loops going this direction, like that. So now I've got, you know, something of a border that's not a curved border. And that's good. Now I just need to tweak it a bit in some areas. And I'm going to turn symmetry off. I guess I don't have symmetry on. Okay, and then just kind of move this into place more or less where it needs to go. All right, so that's done, and now we move on to, and whatever is showing underneath here isn't really going to matter. I'm probably just going to throw some sort of a color on it, and it should be fine. Now let's do the color real quick. Should be exactly the same process, only a little bit different maybe. Again, I'm just going to go ahead into dynamics here and recalc just to get everything else. Oh, I'm not on the color. Actually, it'd be interesting to run the simulation on this just for 1 second. Let's see what we get. If we get anything more interesting. Actually, that's not bad. Let me do it a little bit more. Yeah, that created an interesting kind of effect. I'm happy with it. Actually, I think the problem is that it's reacting to the color, so I can basically recalc it without the color and run this one more time. And I'll get something even better. All right, yeah, that's looking really, really good. Okay, learn something new. Trial and trial. Okay, I'm going to go back to this piece right here and move this out just a little bit, move this part in. This is what I really also like about ZBrush, is that you can do these kinds of tweaks to organic stuff that with other 3D modelers it's kind of a pain in the butt. Okay, and then just tuck this in a little bit, and yeah, now this is looking a lot better. Okay, and where was I going afterwards? Okay, yeah, the color. So let's work on the color, move over to it, show it. Okay, and let's let's see here. So you can see the thing that's wrong with this is I kind of tweaked it around. So right now it's got like this really uneven geometry. So I'm going to fix that with just zero meshing it with the same number of polygons. Let's see what we get. That's much, much better. All right, and then I want to pull these in like so. All right, let me see here. Here's some tips on making clean hard surfaces on ZBrush. I try to avoid hard surfaces as they end up looking very wonky for me. Yeah, I can give you one tip. That's probably the most important one, and that is make sure your low res is working for you. What I mean by that is, so, you know, like if you have something like, let's say the star, right? And if you subdivide this, right, it's going to change into that. So what I'm going to do here is not smooth subdivide it, but normal subdivide it a few times. Okay, so, and then one more time. So I got 4 subdivision levels on this. And if I go to sculpt on this guy, and suppose I want to keep this hard surface, if I go and sculpt on this guy, let's say if I choose a, I don't know, let's see, a normal brush of sorts, say clay tubes, right? If I go to sculpt on this, I mean, even at this subdivision level, I think it's too little. Let me bring up Polyframe. Right, so maybe go a little bit, a few more. I think, there you go, let's just use clay buildup. Right, so you can see here that it's going to get pretty wonky. So this hard surfaceness of it is lost, right? So if you want to not get that, and now even if I'd use the move brush, right, and I move things, right, at a higher subdivision line, I don't know why, I'm going to go to like 7 subdivision. So see how, like, you know, the hard surfaceness is being broken? That's because I'm working at the high subdivision level, and that's going to mess it up. But if I wanted to do some changes, I should do that in the lower subdivision level. So go down to maybe 2 here, and then let's say you want to move this over like this, right? And then straighten this out. So now I'm still kind of trying to keep the star as a hard surface, but I'm actually making some shape changes in it, right? And I'm just going to use H polish here to just straighten these out. And then go up 1 subdivision level and then straighten these out. Right? And then if I go up in subdivision levels, notice that even though I am, you know, sculpting, I'm still maintaining that kind of hard surface look. Even though, you know, the star is kind of, you know, warped a little bit, it's still maintaining the fact that it's kind of maybe a hard surface material. If I change the material of it to maybe metal, you will see the kind of that I'm getting cleaner edges, right? So I guess the advice is make sure that your supporting mesh, meaning whatever you have at the lower subdivision level, is you know, hard surface looking. It's not wonky. And then make shape changes in the lower subdivision levels, and then just polish everything in the higher subdivision levels. So that's kind of my advice. You know, like that's kind of one of the big things that I think people struggle with. Hopefully that helps. And then let's move on to this collar. Okay, so right now I did the retopology of it, and here I'm just going to go here, maintain its shape, divide it once with no smooth on, and then twice with smooth on. Here it is. And then I did that thing where I did the recalc, and this thing is kind of got both sides on it, so it's going to inflate it out. And for good measure, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and mask the area where I don't want it to wrinkle too much. So the edge here, the border, I'm just going to mask that. So it kind of maintains that shape. And for good measure, I'll store a morph target as well. All right, and then once I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and smooth that mask. Okay, so it doesn't have harsh edges. And then let's just go back to dynamics here, and let's say I want to expand and inflate. This is good. Maybe a little bit of gravity, that's fine. And let's just recalc the, I think I already did, but one more just to make sure. And then let's just run the simulation, see what we get. I think I'm too high in subdivision levels here, so I'm going to escape out. Yeah, I have 4 subdivision levels, so I just ran the simulation. It's going to take a minute. Hopefully it'll stop in a minute. All right, so I'm just going to drop down the subdivision level to maybe 2 and then run the simulation. And it doesn't look like I'm getting the inflate, but I'm not getting the expand. So I'm not getting the kind of the wrinkles that I want. And also maybe the gravity is too little. So I'm going to lift that up to 0.1. And nope, still not happening. I thought I was going to change this up to, let's say, 1 and run. Here we go. All right, the polyframes here. This is giving me a little bit of what I want. It's looking a little bit too pillowy, but that's fine. I can fix that later. But I think I need a little bit more gravity, so I'm going to change the gravity to 1. And inflate, maybe not so much anymore. And let's just do deflate instead of inflate. Let's see what we get. Oh, that's not what I wanted. So gravity maybe 0.5. And yeah, it's kind of too many wrinkles. I can always smooth it down. Let's run it again. Actually, one other thing I want to do here is drop a little bit of a mask on the edge here too. All right. Here we go. Okay, so that's looking a lot better. I'm going to reduce the subdivision level to 3, run that again. All right, that's way too much gravity, way too much. 0.1. And run. That's good. And now I'm going to just inflate it instead of expanding it. And Nope. I need to turn expand off. Maybe turn gravity off as well. Let's just inflate it out. All right, it's kind of sweating at level 3. Let's bring it down to level 2. Run simulation. Here we go. That's better. Let's go up to level 3. And that's kind of okay. I mean, I kind of got rid of a lot of the detail that was there because I just want to add it with the cloth brushes. So I'm going to use this one, cloth pinch, and do a pinch over here this way, like so. Okay, I'm still working symmetrically, but I will stop in a minute. I just want to kind of create the border for this. And this is at level 3, so it's getting some detail, but not too many. All right, so while I'm doing this, I'll ask you guys if you guys have watched anything interesting lately. I watched Willow, which was... which is interesting because I don't know if that show has established its world well. I mean, I know it's kind of a fantasy world, but it kind of wants to be so many things. But I can't buy into its world as much. The world building is kind of, I mean, it wasn't a big deal in the first movie anyway. And the first movie was a little bit kind of tongue in cheek. So, yeah, I wasn't, I mean, it was okay. I shouldn't take such a big dump on it, but I think one of the things that was an issue with me is, like, you know, they look medievally kind of, they're wearing arms and armor and swords and all that stuff, but they're talking like they would talk today, you know what I mean? Like, so that kind of was weird. The first Mandalorian was good. I won't spoil it for anybody. All right, so this color is working for me. I'm going to lift this up a little bit, and then I'm going to just use the regular pinch brush. Actually, I could use Dame Standard to kind of get a little bit of a sharper edge over here. All right, so that's good. And this is at subdivision level 3, so now I'm going over to 4. Looks like there's a little bit of detail on 4, but not good ones. So I'm going to obliterate it all. And so colors are usually a lot stiffer than the rest of the clothing, so I'm going to maybe use, let's try the nudge again. I'm going to abort this autosave, which is going to make me regret it, I'm sure. And just continue on. All right. Anybody watching saw anything interesting this week? I know the news is dismal, but Rand is saying, I think the issue is new Disney shows is that they're aiming for such a broad audience, it's hard for them. Yeah, I agree. I agree. You know, like, you know, when I watched Willow, it just seemed more like a Disney show to me. So I think you're right. It just seemed like, you know, it was more for, like, you know, young adults. You know, they're spunky and rebellious, but they don't say curse words. You know what I mean? Like, it's just good, clean fun, I guess. I don't know. All I can say is that, you know, they definitely know how to market to their audience, and they definitely do have a set audience, and they do have a successful business. So, you know, who am I to... Oh, look at that. What the heck happened there? Now, every single one of these cloth brushes I'm using is not doing what I want it to do. I'm going to try with cloth pull. So how would this color be pulled? I think I'm just going to pull it from here, pull it from here. Yeah. Oh, that's why it's inflating. All right, let's just do an expand instead of inflate. Let's see if that makes it any better. I don't know, though. I mean, I must say that I'm one of the people that was not super happy with the new Star Wars series. I mean, it wasn't bad, I guess. You know, it's still Star Wars and everything like that. But Andor was really good. So Andor kind of restored my hope that, like, you know, the Star Wars universe some good stuff can come out of it. And hopefully they know that and they do more of that. And so, I don't know. All the other shows are okay. Obi-Wan was good. In some ways. And Mandalorian's good. You know, it's like a Western. All right, I think this is going to be working for the color. One thing I could do is I can put some buttons here, kind of like I did on the back here. Maybe I should do that. Still have that brush somewhere. Let's see. Oh, it didn't save it? What the heck? It's not at the bottom of this list. Let's do one of these again. Oh, here it is, button brush. It's going to complain that there's multiple subdivision levels. By the way, a trick to get around this is you can either duplicate the object and delete subdivision levels and whatnot. Another thing you can also do is just add like whatever, like a stupid, you know, another, just insert a, let's say, I don't know, a sphere 3D. I thought about that for a long time. All right, and where did it put it? Doesn't really matter. I think it put it down here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. Wow, look at how big that sphere is. Right, and what I want to do is just make that sphere very small, even smaller, and just move it up into the face. Okay, it doesn't really matter where it is, as long as it's inside the object, I think, and I don't know even know if that's the case. And so now I've chosen that sphere, but I can go ahead and click on here and put the button on there. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn symmetry back on because I want one on the other side, and just do one of these guys, and I forget what I chose as draw size for it. I think it was 1.5. I'm not sure. It would be good if it was the same size as the ones on the back. Let's see. Is it close enough? Maybe a little bit bigger. Let's choose 2. I think it was 1.75 is what I chose. And bam. Of course, it's asymmetrical, which is good. And I'll just move this. Turn symmetry off. And let's move this one up and over. And it will be a great thing to just hide that in between the button and or between the edge of the collar and the strap over here. Let's move that over this way, maybe up a bit. I think that's a good place for it on this side. And do I need to push it in? Right, that's good for that one. And then for the other one, same story. I wish I could spoil Mandalorian because there's like something that happened in it that I'm just like, these people are so sophisticated. They have like jetpacks and blasters and all this kind of stuff, and they don't have anything that will detect like a beast on a shore. Anyway, I just thought that was really kind of like, what? But hey, you know. It definitely did entertain. Okay, so let's go back to the collar here and push it underneath this button. Like so. And then let's have these buttons create, I think this one could rotate a bit more this way. Here we go. All right, that's good. Maybe. All right, so that's good. That kind of makes it seem like the color is part of this thing over here, which is not a bad thing to have happened. And so, yeah. And then one other thing I want to do here is just have the color react to this. So for that, again, I'm going to use that dimple brush, cloth brush right here, and just do a little bit of it. Not that much. Oops. Solid that out and just do a little bit of it here. I think maybe another thing I could also do is do a recalc of the collision volume. Bam. And then let's see, what is it on? Expand. Yeah, that's fine. And then no gravity. Let's turn gravity on a little bit. And let's see what that gives us. Of course, it's going to go on top. Okay. Stop simulation. Okay. Go back here. Do that masking trick. All right. Now we should be fine. Now I want to expand it out. And there's gravity. What's the expand at? 1. But I don't want it to be so high in subdivision levels. Let's do this. Okay, here we go. Whoa, too much. 3. Yeah, that was way too much. And stop it right off the bat. 3. Run simulation. Okay, that's good. That's good. Stop. Stop. Okay. Push this under. Same with this one. There, that looks a little bit better. And then I'm going to use the cloth nudge here. Oops. Just going to mask these parts so they don't kind of go over the button, and they're still going. Come on. All right, and then do that. Okay, I think that's going to be as good as it is going to go. All right, and then one more thing I'm going to do here is just completely mask these two edges again. I go for stronger mask. Just that. Blur it just a bit. And then I'm going to use the pinch. Cloth pinch. Just to kind of create these creases. Go up in subdivision level. And do this again. All right, so now I also want to see if MicroPoly will look good with this. So let's try that. Geometry dynamic. Subdiv, turn it on. No smoothness, no thickness, just MicroPoly. And let's go with you again. Yeah, that actually doesn't look too bad. Now the risk you run is that the MicroPoly on this and on this are a little bit different size, but they're close enough where it's not going to matter. Okay, so that's done. Cool. I was thinking these were going to take a little bit more time than they did, so good that they are done. Smooth these out. Cool thing is I'm smoothing it and the MicroPoly is just kind of reacting to it. All right, so the collar is done. Let's see here. Wanted to work on this earpiece, so let's do that. And I'm contemplating whether or not I want this earpiece to be cloth or not. So let's try it out. Let's see what happens, if that will be a good thing or not. I'm just going to duplicate it so I have a copy of it. And I'm going to work on the duplicate. So the first thing I'm going to do here is do exactly what I did before. Recalc this. However, I am going to change the inflate a little bit to 2. All right, well, that's, I mean, I've never done this before, so it might be interesting to see what I get. Okay, it says evaluating volumes. It's doing the recalc. So is it done? Nope, not yet. All right, let's let it do its thing. What's a good way to add a logo? Of course you can. You can get amazing results, like super cool results. So I'll do it with the Dell logo in a minute. But let's kind of go along what we're working on right now. So this did that recalculation. So what I'm not going to do, I'm not going to expand it. I'm just going to contract it. And I'm not going to really have gravity. And let's see what that looks like. Wow. All right. I mean, I'm getting something kind of interesting, kind of not. All right, well, what if I show the initial one and do another recalc, but the inflate, I think, 2's making it sweat. So I'm just going to go back to 1 and do a run simulation. I mean, I wasn't really expecting to get this, but it's kind of a happy accident. Maybe 1 is too much. Since I did add that other piece back, I'm going to go back to 0.1 and I think it did do the recalculation, so let's just see what that gives us. So I'm just going to let it do its thing. It's doing a contract. All right, that's not really doing anything I want. So let's try doing a deflate instead of a contract, and maybe add a little bit of an expand to it. Run simulation. All right, I think that might be better. Yeah, that's creating an interesting thing. All right, let's just stop it. And is it symmetric? It is, but it's not acting symmetric. That's fine. And I'm going to smooth out this whatever is happening to it over here. Yeah, it's so weird. Oh, that's what's happening. It's going inside out. Fix that with inflate. All right, I'll just actually let the simulation inflate it out. So I'm going to add an inflate instead of a deflate. And I'm going to run the simulation with the inflate instead of a deflate. Let's see what that gives us. Okay, so that went out. Now this part here that you're seeing is the inside part. So over time, as it's inflating it, that part is going away. And I'm just going to stop the simulation for a minute and see if this is something I want to have. It's actually kind of cool. I wasn't planning on having this part be cloth, but I'm kind of liking the results. but this inside outness of it is kind of disturbing. So the inflate brush will fix that a little bit. And let's fix that and run it again and see if we get something better. Right now I'm kind of tending to think that this is looking cool, but I might decide not. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go all the way back before I did the simulation. And I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to store a morph target. So it kind of tries to maintain this shape. All right, let's see what it's going to do. And let's see, what time is it? All right, we're getting there. I'll add the logo. I'll add the logo next. So Sandman 5000 Dream, are you adding the logo? Do you want me to add it to cloth, or do you want me to add it to, like, you know, the helmet, let's say? Like what type of thing are you trying to do? I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I'll wait for your answer before I do the logo. Because I'd rather do it, you know, something that you're going to be doing than just a generic example. All right. Well, I mean, I think the cloth thing on this was a good idea, but it's really kind of struggling. But I have an idea to make that better too. I'm going to give it one more try with this method of mine. So I'm going to select this piece and hide it. Where are you? There you are. Okay, and then go back to this and recalc the volume again. Sandman, I'm still waiting for your answer. Do you want me to add the logo to what piece on here do you want me to add the logo to? Speaking of Sandman, that was a fun thing to watch. I mean, I read the books, but it was the HBO. I think it was on HBO, or was it on Netflix? I don't know. One of the two. But Sandman was okay. I kind of liked it. The guy had a blue steel face the whole movie. I mean, the whole show. It's not different, but it is and it isn't. Because on cloth, it needs to take the shape of the cloth. On hard surface, it depends on kind of where it's going to end up. But let me ask you this. I mean, where would you want me to do it on here? Like, what would you be the better thing for you? All right, so this cloth idea for this is kind of dying. I'm not very excited about what it's doing. I'm going to try it one more time. Store morph target, and then inflate is on, expand is on, and let's just run it one more time. It kind of wants to put this thing through itself. I don't know why, but here we go. Maybe go down in subdivision levels and run this. And I'm going to pump up the expand to 0.5 here. I don't know what you're saying, Eduardo. Let's do a deflate just for kicks. Let's see what we get. Yeah, I'm kind of done with the cloth idea for this, so adios muchachos, and then we'll bring those two things back up. And let's do the logo. I can do a lot of the other stuff I'm going to do, which is going to be very similar to what I did. in previous episodes. So I'm going to do that later. I'll do the logo though. I'll do that Dell logo. Why not? Okay. So why can't I find that? Oh, here we go. Here we go. All right. So let's say I want to add the Dell logo to his vest over here. Okay. So thank you, Bhavana 01123. That's great. Oh, is there anyone from Brazil? No, there was a guy from Argentina a while back. I don't know if he's still on, but nobody from Brazil. Okay, so let's go ahead and say I'm going to add this Dell logo to this object, right? So here's the Dell logo I made. And if I look at it here, it's got good topology for me to extract it out. So the best way to do that is just to go in here. And this is pretty dense, by the way. I would probably have it be less dense. Let me try and do that. Let me see if I can get it to be less dense. So let's just zero mesh it at half and keep the groups. And let's leave detect edges on. Let's see if we get anything better, because this is way too much geometry. That's better. Let's see if we can go one more. I think this is about what it's going to do. Okay, and then I'm going to go in here and say I want to turn dynamic on. No smoothing, but I want to add some thickness. So let's see how much of a thickness I'm adding here. That's too much, maybe about there. And I don't want 6 segments, maybe I want 2 segments. That's good enough, okay? So now I want to add this logo to that object, right? So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and apply the dynamic subdiv. So this is an object now that has thickness. And then the next thing I'm going to do here is go in and go to brush and create an insert mesh brush. Okay. New one. Okay, so now I've got this Dell brush, and I can basically just drop these logos on anything. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my object again. So let's go ahead to that model. And I'm going to go back to that sphere that I added, and I don't know where that is. Somewhere in here. Here you are. Okay, so this sphere has these 2 buttons attached to it, so I want to separate the 2 buttons out. So that's easy enough to do. Control A, split hidden. And by the way, I'm doing Control A, but basically Control A is my menu that my custom menu that I have, and Control A is what brings it up. So if you guys hit Control A and doesn't do that, don't be put off by that. Okay, so now again I've selected the sphere, but I'm choosing my Dell brush, and then I'm going to place my Dell brush somewhere. So if I do this, notice that it's going to add it, but it's going to be kind of straight, right? But I want it to conform to the shape underneath. So to do that, you have to do one more thing, which is go into the modifiers here under brush and up your projection strength to, let's say, 100. And then you can choose your embed here as well. So now I can just go ahead and do this. And you can see that the actual logo is going to conform to the shape underneath. Now the reason why it's not doing it is because of the ball, right? So it's basically, it doesn't really matter that I'm doing it here. It is putting it on there, but it's not conforming to the shape because this is not the shape that it's being projected onto. So in order to get it to work, what I would need to do is go to the coat. And in this case, I do have to do this process. So let me just select it. So there's the coat, right? And I'm just going to duplicate that. So now I've got a copy of it. And I don't really, with the copy of it, I don't really need that level of subdivision, right? I'm just going to turn this down. And I probably don't need that level of subdivision either. So I'm going to turn that down all the way to maybe 1 and delete the higher subdivision levels. Again, this is a duplicate, so you don't want to do this with your, you don't want to do this with the actual piece. The actual piece is still there. This is just a copy of it. And I'm going to turn dynamic subdiv off on this, or MicroPoly off. So basically this is the piece I have. And now if I place that Dell logo, it's going to go right on it, right? So you can see it's going with the contour of that shape. And there it is, right? So now I don't really need, I'm going to split the mask piece and hide it. Right, and I don't really need to see that piece anymore. I can just keep it there because if I want to add other logos, and you can kind of see here the Dell logo is on there. Maybe a little bit kind of not, it's conforming to the higher subdivision level that we had earlier, so that's why you see the faceting. But if what I could have done here is I could just go back to this. Yeah, it's reacting to this faceting over here, which is not what I wanted. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to delete this logo. That's not what I wanted to do, but not a problem. I'm just going to duplicate this one. And this time I'm just going to delete the lower subdivision levels so I can kind of get this smoothness. Right, so it doesn't really matter. Of course, I did that. The first one I did the higher, just because I wanted to have less geometry. But in this case, I actually need the detail. So turn MicroPoly off, right, and then go back to this, and now I can draw out that Dell logo, and it will go on perfectly, and adhere to the contours of what I had. There it is. And then I can just, again, do the same thing, split masked points, and hide that piece that it's just basically the piece that I drew that onto. And now there it is. So there's the Dell logo, a Dell logo, not the Dell logo, but one that I kind of was playing around with. And yeah, so that's how you do it. So hopefully, let's see, who wanted that? Rand Williams. So hopefully that answers that question for you. So that's how I would do geometric logos. But if you want to do painted logos, you can do that as well. So, I mean, I can, again, just go to that logo here. Right, there it is. And what I want to do is just make an alpha from it. So just to... just for kicks, so alpha, and from, let's see, where it is, from mesh. Okay, so there's the logo as an alpha, 512 size is okay. So now I've got a alpha of this, and I can just go to paint, like that, and go back to my model, which is this one. And if I don't want to actually have modeled this, I just want it to be more of a painted on thing, I can just choose that Dell alpha like that, and just use drag rectangle, and let's see, I should choose a different color. So I'm just going to fill this with white. What object am I working on? Oh, that's white. Okay, let me just work on this one right here. And let's say I want to paint that logo onto here. And turn symmetry off. It's not on there anyway. And so I'm going to fill this object with color. And let's say I want to put a blue Dell logo on here. So there it is. And then when I go and drag, I'm dragging that Dell logo on here. Now this is going to be Polypaint, so I probably would need to have a few more subdivision levels on this object. And also, it's kind of giving me fringes. Like, see, the edges are kind of blurry, so that's because of the focal shift. So I'm going to drop that down to 0, and there it is. So that's a way to kind of get it on there with just painting it on and not sculpting it on. So hopefully this answers your questions for you on how to do that. All right, so I don't really need this piece anymore. I'm going to get rid of it and bring my old one back, and I can maybe show this logo on here to see it. Yeah, so that's how you do the logos, or I mean, it could be anything. It could be any object you can place on your model. All right, so let's go ahead and delete that. And I think, how are we doing on time? We're almost there. Were there any last questions? All right. I guess I still have to do a little bit more work, but I can do that later on. But let's do some renders and see what this looks like rendered. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn Redshift on. And let me choose a Redshift material here. Let's go ahead and choose, I don't know, choose a metal. Simple aluminum. That's okay. I think this is maybe too much. Simple plastic rough. Let's go with that. And also with the lighting, I want to actually change the light here. Drop the ZBrush light way down. And I'm going to add an HDR. I'm getting a lot of these HDRs from HDR Haven or whatever it's called now. Let's go ahead and choose this concrete tunnel, 4K, sure. Let's see what that looks like. That looks okay, and it's on. Let's see, where is the lit area? And I'm going to turn perspective on as well, so we can actually see the image in the background. All right, and I think this is good. I just want to rotate that light a little bit. Maybe give it 90 degrees, maybe 180. Nope. Let's go with 45 degrees and I don't know if this, I guess this is okay. Let's see what it looks like. All right, let's do BPR. So this is the thing that I will also test out next time with the new machine, is like how long the render is going to take. That's kind of the critical thing that takes a lot of time, is rendering. Because most of everything else I do in ZBrush, it happens at the speed that is okay with me. But I think having a faster machine will definitely make me more productive. Right, I think it's still doing it. Yep, rendering in progress. So you got to really realize that this is 114 million polygons that we're dealing with. So the render is definitely going to sweat a little bit. But again, my next machine, I'm hoping with the faster GPU, with the faster CPU, that it's going to eat this stuff up pretty fast. I think the first render takes a bit longer. Here we go. So then there is the global illumination that just kicked in. And then once that ends, then here we go. Here's the bucket render. I did put some eyes in there as well since last time. All right, there it is. Not bad. I don't know if I like where the lighting is. Let's do another render. So this render should take less time. And I'm going to get it up close a little bit more. This render should definitely take a lot less time because it's done some of the preliminary work. Now the MicroPoly probably adds some time to the render as well. However, I think that I might need to increase the height of it a little bit more so it shows up more. But let's see what this render looks like. If you guys have questions, this is a good time to ask last-minute questions. And if not, then after this render is done, we will end tonight's stream. Oh, one thing I should have done is I should have, I'll turn it on. I want to turn on the Polypaint for the inside part. Although it kind of looks cool. just kind of light colored like that too. All right, here we go. Now I can see there are some parts that I need to work on more. The earpiece is being one of them, and then this area over here, I need to tighten that up and make it look more hard surfacey. But actually this looks pretty good for what I want right there. Okay, Rand has the last question. So this is probably a dumb question, but is there a way to import finished textures onto a mesh into ZBrush? Yeah, of course. So if you know, like if I had a texture, I do have textures on this, by the way, Polypaint on this that I'm not showing, that I will show. Like let's say, I guess this Polypaint was on. What the heck? But this piece right here has Polypaint on it, so let me turn that on. Where are you? Where did you go? Yeah, why am I not seeing the Polypaint? Maybe, oh, it's because I've got a material that is not conducive to that. But here, let me just choose the basic material here. Yeah, you can see that I've got a material on here, like a texture on here, on the mask. I also have one on the jaw, I think. Nope, not yet. I was going to paint it on. But I showed how to do those. So, but if your model does have a texture, and if it does have UVs, you can just load it in. A good one to check that out with, let me just save this real quick. So I'm just going to do the Save Next, which is a new feature of ZBrush. What Save Next will do is it will just save the file, but up the number by 1. So this is just going to save it as kind of my final one for the stream. And I'll just load in a demo to show you the textures. And it's not a stupid question. I mean, that's a pretty valid question. I would say it's a good question, not a stupid one. And if anybody has any other questions, we have a few minutes to wait here, so it would be a good idea to ask them before we close tonight's session. All right, so that's done. Let me just go into Lightbox here and load your favorite character and mine. Earthquake, I think he's in here. Oh yeah. It's amazing that there's a history to all of these different pieces with different versions of ZBrush. Okay, so here's a perfect example. Earthquake has a texture on him, I think. And if he doesn't, I can create it. Let's go ahead and see texture map. No, he doesn't have a texture map. That's fine. But he does have UVs. So if I solo him out, there's his beautiful body. And if I solo this guy out, and he's at subdivision level 6, if I want this Polypaint as a texture, and if my object has UVs, so this one I think he does have UVs. Let me make sure. Yep, he does. Yep, these are his UVs. Not the best UVs, but UVs nonetheless. And suppose I want this to be a texture, right? So I can just go into texture map here and create from Polypaint. So here I'm just basically creating it, but that doesn't, you could just load it in here as well. So you can just click on here and say the import. So if you painted it in like Substance Painter or another program, you can just import it in. So now that I've got a texture on, I can go down in subdivision levels, right? Like this, and I still have that nice texture with the clean edges on it. So let's say if I want a game version of this guy, I will go up in subdivision levels until I get a good silhouette. And then I probably would smooth the normals on here. So here at level 3, I think it's pretty good, and it has the texture map on it. And notice here that the Polypaint, I can turn it off. It doesn't matter. It has the texture map. Okay, so that's how you apply texture maps in ZBrush. How much RAM and video card got in computer to run this? So the current computer I'm using in has a 3090 Ti video card. So, but it doesn't really use the video card that much. I mean, some of the The new Redshift rendering uses the video card, and some of the calculation stuff in here, like Pro Booleans or whatever, like not Pro Booleans, Bevel Pro uses the GPU, but mostly ZBrush uses the CPU for most parts. And the CPUs I have in my current machine, or the RAM you're asking, I currently have 128 gigs of RAM in this machine. In the new one as well, but I don't really think you need that much. I mean, the only reason why I have that much RAM is because of Photoshop, because I load a lot of photographs in and do manipulation on them, and that usually takes a lot of memory. But I think if you have 64 gigs, you're really comfortable. If you have 32, you're good, right? So 32 would be the minimum I would recommend, especially if you're going to make high density models. 64 would be nice. You would be planning for the future, and 128 would be, of course, better because if you have other applications that require a lot of memory, then you can use it. But again, if you have 32, you're good. Even 16, like I have a laptop that has 16, and sometimes I go do offline work, and with that 16 gigs, I'm able to do most of what I need to do when I'm working. Of course, if I have something that needs more, I bring it onto my home workstation. So the real cell, hopefully that answers your question. If anybody else has a question, I'll wait a couple of minutes to answer them. And if not, then I will... okay. Yeah, if you're thinking of building a computer now, I would go with 32 gigs of RAM, for sure. And video card, I mean, just get an NVIDIA 2080, I think, would be good. 2070 even would be fine. The new ones, the RTXs that are coming out, are really great. It works good with AMD cards too. Although I don't use AMD stuff, but I'm sure it works well with those as well. All right, so leaving you guys with Earthquake here. I will bid you all a good night, a good day, or whatever time it is where you are. And tune in again on a couple of Fridays from now, so not next Friday, but the Friday after, to see me finish this thing in rendering. Probably going to be on my new machine. Yeah. And then a couple of other things. If you want to see more of my work, it's kermaco.com, Kermaco. .com is where you can see some of my work, and I also post stuff on Instagram. So here's a model that I was working on recently, which is kind of a human face, and I was just working on the details here. I think the subsurface scattering is a little bit up on this model, but it's just basically to showcase some of the pores over here. But I've got a version of him that has less SSS, which is this one. If you follow me on Instagram, you can see kind of my latest works. This is ZBrush. The things before that, there's a few. These two are AI. These are just my ZBrush Summit presentation, which if you haven't watched, you should. It's pretty interesting. And watch all of the ZBrush Summit presentations. They're all good. This is ZBrush as well. This is ZBrush. So yeah. And then here, this is what I am making in the stream set. Other things, here in my Instagram, I've got my link tree, which connects you to all my other things. Like, for example, on Gumroad, I've got a brush that you can get. There's a $5 version and a free version of IMM primitives, which are pretty useful. A lot of people have downloaded them. A lot of people have even purchased this one. And then if you like my UI colors, you can download those as well. So that's on the Gumroad, and again, you can get to it by just clicking on the link tree here and going to Gumroad. My ArtStation, my YouTube channel, Twitter, LinkedIn, all that stuff is over here in my link tree. And again, if you want to watch the previous ones of these videos, you can just go to the ZBrush YouTube channel and just click on live over here. And that basically has chronologically all the different streams that have happened, and you might find some other ones that are interesting. There's some amazing people doing amazing stuff on here. And also I've got a couple of titles on the Gnomon Workshop. This one, 3D scan for retopology, which we're updating to newer versions of ZBrush and Maya. And also I've got this designing a piloted combat mech, which I have on there as well. So hopefully these will be useful to you. And again, I'll see you in a couple of Fridays. Other than that, I will wish you all again a good night or a good day or whatever time it is. Happy ZBrushing.